Joseph, tell us about this wonderful collection.
Well, Faye, this is one of those things that you come across, and it's not remarkable because it's the most sort of valuable thing that I've seen all month or week or year. It's one of the most touching, humbling, emotive. It's militaria, but it's so poignantly attached to the life of one man, and sadly, tragically, his death as well. So we have a sort of a collection of correspondence, ephemera, medals relating to the life and tragically the death of one Harold Henry Lane. He was a soldier in the First World War from New Zealand. Most poignantly, a letter written by the chaplain from France, dated the 19th of June 1916, writing to Lane's mother, expressing his sympathy, his admiration for the son that she'd lost. And I'll just read you a little passage here, if I may. So, "My dear Mrs. Lane, you will already have heard of the sad news about your son. He was one of the band of the gallant New Zealanders who carried out a raid on the German trenches last Friday night and early Saturday morning. But most unfortunately, your very brave son was hit on his way back to our lines after having carried out all that they intended to do. He was brought into hospital," and it then goes on to basically read that, sadly, the doctors doing all they could for him, he passed away in the early hours of that sort of following morning. And, on a human level, the chaplain goes on to express how his heart goes out to a mother who has sacrificed her son for, this great undertaking that was for freedom, as it were, in the First World War. So militaria, medals, these sorts of things, they sometimes or quite often can come with the names perhaps not having any direct sort of human connection anymore. Here we have pieces that were consigned from a family that, knew who this chap was, and they obviously respected and adored and mourned his memory. They've been, consigned to us from a local family just outside of Bristol, and, they're now looking for these pieces to find a new home. And I think it's one that really does sort of tug on the heartstrings, and it sort of brings militaria, medals and things alive, doesn't it? Because we've actually got, a photograph of the dear chap here. We've even got, remarkably, here we're a document from the Director of Graves Registration and Inquiries, so talking about where he's buried, even photographs of his grave. So it's a really sort of comprehensive little summary. And of course his memorial sort of death plaque, as it were, as well. We're still doing a bit more homework and research, but we think that we've also got here, the plaque relating to, again, sadly, the death, the passing of his brother, Frederick George Lane. So, his dear mother sacrificing, two sons in the Great War. We take the task of passing it on to a new owner sort of really seriously, and I'm sure it's the sort of thing that's going to be, very popular.
It's incredibly moving, like you say. This wonderful collection, this moving collection, is coming up for auction on the 15th and 16th of July. How much do you think it will go for?
It's hard to put a price on, isn't it? Because the medals themselves, etc., there's not, respectfully, there's not a huge amount of value here. But again, as soon as you put that sort of emotive human connection into things, as soon as emotion enters any sort of conversation, it becomes hard to quantify, doesn't it? How do you put a value on sort of sentiment? So I expect, we may achieve something in the region of anything between, say, £200 and £500. I'll give you a nice broad estimate there, very broad estimate. And I think that it should make that and hopefully a bit more. And like I say, I think there'll be plenty of collectors out there who will want to, take on this story, perhaps look into, his life and service in more detail and sort of pay homage to him that way, really, which I think is rather a lovely thought.